Hey everybody, Dominic here. Before we get into the episode, wanted to thank you all for being here. First of all, make sure you like and comment. Also subscribe if you're not already. If you're listening to us on audio, make sure you follow us. Leave a review, 5 stars, please. Also, if you're listening to us on Spotify, there's a new feature where you can leave us a comment. Let us know what your favorite moment of the episode is. We'd love to hear from you. You guys can follow us on Instagram and TikTok at Un Poquito Pod. Send us an email at unpoquitopod@gmail.com. If you want to support us, please join us on Patreon. We got a lot of bonus episodes out. There's fun stuff. You can join our Minecraft server. It's a lot of fun. There's a big community growing on there. Join us on Discord. It's free to join. There's a lot of cool people in there. Everybody's making friends, talking about all kinds of stuff, from wrestling to video games to movies and music. It's a lot of fun. Just a little heads up about this episode that you're about to enjoy. This was meant to be last week's Patreon. We had some issues. Full disclosure, we had a loss in the family, so Ryan and I have been spending time and energy helping people that are most affected by it. We're going to try to minimize its effects on the actual podcast production, but we just want to let you guys know what's going on. So if we're late on an episode or something is amiss, that's what's going on. But we'll be back on our regular game. Don't forget to check out our merch store. We have our Un Poquito shirts in a mustard yellow. It's pretty cool if you ask me. We also have 3 sticker designs out right now. We have our Don't Fly sticker. We have the Un Poquito rooster logo and Un Poquito's cereal logo that was helped designed by Melanie Hurtado. She's a fantastic artist, good friend of ours, and we're really excited about these designs. We hope you like them. Yeah, I think that's it. Sorry if I'm out of it. It's pretty late. I'm just excited for you guys to catch this episode. We got a lot of big stuff coming up in the next few months. It's gonna be a good time. Thanks for being here, y'all. Enjoy the episode.
Hello, I'm Ryan Reyes.
And I'm Dominic Angel.
And I'm Ricky Macias.
Not a race. And this is
Un Poquito!
Mas! I did it first! Fuck you!
I feel like you still were louder than your loud
On this, I'm not going to be as loud as that because I won.
Welcome to Un Poquito!
Mas.
I'm gonna fight you.
Today, we're going to watch the Hot Cheetos Flamin' Hot trailer.
We probably should have checked the name first. What is it called?
It's Flamin' Hot.
Flamin' Hot. The Ricky Montanez story. Richard. Hey Ricky,
Montanez?
try these chips.
Yeah, I mean, we had to do the Flamin' Hot. Like that was such a big part of our podcast history
Before.
covering the Flamin' Hot scandal.
Also, we just had some flaming hot fries before this, so
Yeah, so if I
They
keep
smack.
it red, it's not gingivitis, I swear.
I brush my teeth.
I brush them.
With sugar,
First-
fetus. Aww.
Should we talk about the movie or the scandal? Should we catch people back up to speed?
Yeah, I feel like we should because we keep saying allegedly and no one gets the joke.
Allegedly. Okay, here's the thing. Okay, so to catch everybody back up, I'm sure everybody knows, but if you are unaware of the Flamin' Hot story, right? Okay. When I was a kid in like the late 90s, early 2000s, my teachers and my tias used to gather the kids around and be like, you gotta work hard, mijos, because there's a dog outside.
You'll get you.
He'll get you because there's a dog. But they were
Because
like,
the wow wow.
yeah, but essentially they were like, this fool fucking was a janitor at this company, worked hard, applied himself, invented hot Cheetos, and like became like a VIP or a vice president at the company, an executive at the company. This story was told to me for like 15 years. And then this guy, Richard Montanez, apparently was going around to banks and colleges and corporations and give public speaking appearances telling the story about how he invented hot Cheetos. And then 2020, bombshell, Dean Edwards is his name. I think his name. I don't remember his first name is Dean. Or Greg Dean. Anyway, this fucking guy from the LA Times, it says he's a liar. And here's the thing about, okay, do you guys know what happened with the LA Times article? It's been a few years.
Yeah.
Okay, so this guy writes this article that he had been going to trying to verify Richard Montanez's story. So he's going to a bunch of other people in the company, and these people are saying, "Well, I never heard of that story happening." And they actually introduced him to this other girl. I forget her name. This woman. I'm sorry. That she was actually one that came up with the name Flamin' Hot Cheetos. But essentially, it was a big scandal. This scandal came out right after it was announced that Eva Longoria was producing the Richard Montanez story about hot Cheetos. So it was a big thing. Tore up Mexican internet for like a full year. But now the movie's coming out. What do you guys think about this story, though?
I tell you what's flaming hot. His pants, because they're on fire.
You got him.
Got him.
You know what's interesting is we never talked about this on Isimo, but shortly after that LA Times article was dropped, somebody reached out to Mala Munoz and Diosa from Locatora Radio, and she was like, I gotta talk to you guys about this story. I have a perspective on it. So it turns out that woman that contacted Locatora Radio, which you can check out the episode. It's just interesting. All of this is drama. All of this is speculation. I don't know any of these people.
Flaming hot cheese man.
But one thing that was interesting was that the woman that they interviewed essentially was saying that the writer of that article was a tech writer who's never written about culture, who's never written about food. He was a tech writer, written about technology and stuff. And he happens to be the ex-girlfriend of that girl who's a Latina. And after they broke up, shortly after they broke up, this article is dropped. And so she thinks that this was in some way like to get back at her, to ruin the image of hot Cheetos.
You know,
Which is such a petty, like ruining our favorite snack.
but
Broke my heart, I'm gonna break your.
yeah, I don't not believe. Like, who knows, right? We got to figure. We'll learn the truth eventually. But I wouldn't put it past a dude like that to do something like that. Like I've heard of dudes doing that stuff to like Latinas in general. Like,
Oh, the writer?
no, not
Or
like dudes like that. They like a white. Is he white dude or what?
yeah, he's white.
Like a white dude, they Latina, and be like,
His
"Oh yeah, I'm
name's
gonna
Dean.
call ice on your mom." Like they'll do shit like that. I'm being dramatic. Like, I mean, I don't know. Does this sound crazy?
No, I've heard of Latinas doing that kind of shit all the time. They'll call the cops on you for fucking whatever
Well,
it is you're
calling the
doing.
cops and calling ICE are technically different.
Yeah, it's
But-
a little bit different.
It's just a little bit. I mean, yeah, it's not cool to call the cops on someone for not a real thing. Yeah, but
I mean, also, trigger warning,
Yeah.
domestic abuse.
yeah,
Skip ahead 20 seconds. But to your point, I heard a story about how my friend, he's going through a divorce, and his wife allegedly slammed her arm in a doorway and was like, "I'm going to call the cops on you," and told them that you broke my arm, essentially. That is similar.
Yeah.
Saying, "I'm going to call the cops on you about this shit." That's similar to calling ICE on somebody.
Yeah, that's true.
I was talking about like, this is California now, dude. We all know people that sell pot and stuff. You never heard of a girl being like, "Fucking, I'm gonna rat you out" or some shit?
Oh, then yeah, I do agree.
I feel like that's similar. I wasn't talking about domestic violence.
This
Oh,
type
no,
of
no,
people
no.
do that stuff.
feels more like scorched earth, and that's not a pun. But like it feels like the same kind of mentality of those dudes that used to swat people on the internet.
Yeah.
Like
yeah.
that's the
I mean,
kind
he
of
is
like,
in tech. So.
Still happens.
It is just an interesting thing. I mean, this guy is never to go from tech and then to write about culture and food and culture is like a little weird. But also, I know that sometimes people just get assigned stories. Like,
Sure.
Yeah, and for me, even if you take out the idea that it might be like vindictive or biased, he's still someone who doesn't have the experience of writing about this particular like not topic, but like
a
genre.
scandal.
Yeah,
I don't think he's an investigative journalist. You know,
Yes.
like I'm trying to give him the benefit of the doubt of like that
It's
he
like-
wasn't being vindictive about this, and that he just doesn't have the experience of an investigative journalist. Like he's about like, inventions, tech, news, stuff like that, where maybe there's not the same type of citing that needs to be done, or I don't know what words I should be using right now, but you know what I mean? Like the things that they have to cover and the things that they have to verify are maybe not the same. My initial feelings, I haven't reread the article. My initial feelings when I had first read the article was that it was handled carelessly. I don't believe that Richard Montanez was reached out to for verification about this during the writing. Also, it's really interesting that the way that the article was written was very pointed, which I know it's not like there's no real need for like having a I don't know. Is it more ethical to be unbiased and neutral in your writing? Because it very much was like, this was a scam artist. Like, that's what I got after reading the article.
It what's always kind of struck me as interesting is like, if he was, then like, did Hot Cheetos go after him, the corporation?
So that's the thing. What were you going to say?
Probably exactly what you were going to say,
What?
except not on camera. That they were like, this is good press.
No, exactly. That was that's always been my point. And I think that especially with this, I'm pointing at the monitor, but like, I'm sure that PepsiCo has money in this movie. They have to.
from what I remember, like they were backing it until the scandal.
So this is what happened, if I remember correctly. Okay, so there was a group of people that were confirming Richard Montanez's story, but by the time this article was being written and investigated, all of the people that had that would have been around during the time that Montanez was claiming had either died or retired, so they weren't talking to the press. There's only one person that could verify his story, and even then, in the article, he kind of gives like a soft verification with like he knows what happened. But essentially, I mean, this fool was going around. Richard Montanez was going around for like 10 years, like telling this story, and I mean, who's to say that it wouldn't have? Because it is, I feel like it is a very California thing. He's from Rancho. Who's to say that Hot Cheetos wouldn't?
Rancho Cucamonga.
Right. Oh, Rancho Cucamonga, not Rancho. Rancho.
Frito-Lay. That's where the Frito-Lay.
Right.
That could be confused. That's true. Rancho Palos Verdes.
Anyway,
Put some respect on our name, dog.
listen, you're called Cucamonga, dog. You guys are nuts.
Is that a joke?
I don't know.
Oh, got it.
Yeah, I don't know.
Didn't get it at first. I was like,
Cucamonga
Spanish
just
for
sounds
nuts?
funny. I don't think it is, but it just sounds funny. But like the thing, who's to say that like the ties that Latinos have to Hot Cheetos wouldn't be as strong without this story? Because it is a very California, very Southwest thing. I don't know how far this story traveled, because I think a lot of people from the East Coast maybe haven't heard it, but everybody I know that's in California has heard this story.
For sure. But also, I think there still would have been a strong tie, because even me in fifth grade, when Hot Cheetos, fifth grade, when Hot Cheetos first came out, I ate so many Hot Cheetos, I got heartburn as a fifth grader.
Damn.
So
This fool's on Tums.
So like, yeah, the lore would be really cool, but also that shit was good.
But that's the thing. So that's always like my feelings about it are still like, if we separate Richard Montanez from Hot Cheetos, from the Flamin' Hot Cheetos, because what ended up happening after the article was written was that they gave an official statement for the article that was like, we have no record of Richard ever working on this project. And then they came out and said, well, it is possible that two different departments, because the woman, I forget her name, is like Lynn Greenberg or something. And that's probably wrong, but the woman that is credited with naming it Flamin' Hot Cheetos, her team was in Chicago, I believe. Chicago or somewhere in the Midwest. And then PepsiCo came out and said, like, there is a chance that two different teams were working on the same thing without knowledge of the other team.
Damn, this is real, like...
It's weird. It's very much they're trying to save face and they're trying to keep things like...
That's some spec ops stuff.
Yeah.
I can't find anything about PepsiCo having their hand in it. It's being produced by Searchlight.
Okay.
It's also directed by Eva Longoria. Did you say that?
Yeah, I know it was produced. I didn't say that she directed it. I know she was producing it.
That's cool.
It's her directorial debut.
Oh, shit.
And it's written by a guy who usually makes faith-based movies.
Uh-oh.
So the
James
writers...
Cameron? Oh, fuck. What is his name? Cameron... James Kirk? Kirk Cameron.
Oh,
I got there.
yeah, that guy.
Anyway, that would be funny if it was written by Kirk Cameron.
I don't think it is.
That'll be something. He'd be like, I got the inspiration from the Lord.
These are the Lord's Jeeps.
Nobody's made that joke in 3 years. These are the Lord's Jeeps. Oh, God.
Devon
Right, with the slant
Franklin is producing it also, whoever that is.
But, no, it was just a weird thing because, like, he was telling this story and they did use him. And I think it's kind of, it's almost like what the fucking Dodgers did with Chavez Ravine.
Yeah.
Which I don't think, like, they didn't displace people, but the corporation, like, they went, these spicy snacks, spicy chips, they were being, like, made by small not even just companies, but they were being made by, like, communities and sold in, like, bodegas and local shops, right? So, like, they were trying to corner this market or, like, tap into this market of, like, oh, hey, Mexicans have a little bit of money, or Latinos, you know, let's get some of this spicy chip action going. And so they sent these teams of people into these communities, seeing what they were eating, getting the spicy chips, and, like, taking that idea and then making Flaming Hots, which, look, the argument can be made that's just business and capitalism, competition, whatever. But the fact is like, they're taking from these communities, right? And so I am speculating that they used Richard Montanez's story to create an authenticity behind the product.
Oh, that's interesting. Like, almost like a reverse false flag.
Yeah. Which is like you were saying before that there's a character, right? Or like somebody that's already a thing with another brand.
Chester Cheetah.
What do you mean?
No, like I forgot you were saying that somebody did this. Like I know there's Aunt Jemima. They did that with Aunt Jemima. They did that with, I think, Colonel Sand? No, another, like, this has happened before where companies have made these, like,
mascots, essentially.
Mascots, or just, like, a spokesperson, and they're just a front, like, they're just a face to kind of help sell the product.
Yeah, but it was Aunt Jemima where they pretended she was a real person, but there was an original spokesperson who, like, that's how they made money, was being her, and then they, like, took that image and they kept evolving it and kind of, like, took it away from her.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, wow. That makes sense.
And then they were like, "Yee, we don't want to remember that." So now it's like Country House Company's pancakes. It's dumb.
It's crazy. It is just wild to me that, like,
chips.
It's wild to me that, like, he's been telling this story for so long, and, like, to allow him to say this, and then, like, somebody had to have known about it. And I think it was the friend that was cited in the article that might have been the guy that was, like, protecting him. If it is a lie. But it's just weird that they would allow him to tell that story for so long and then kind of use his story, make it inspirational, make it meaningful. Yeah. And then that the first sign of, like, conflict be like, we have nothing to do with this. Like, they hung him out to dry, essentially.
Which is crazy. It's like, imagine, like,
it's like that episode of The Simpsons when he is starving himself because they're moving to Albuquerque.
Right.
And then they make him a mascot. and then they're still moving to Albuquerque. They were just like trying to hold off. Like they use him as a distraction.
Right. Yeah, because he's delirious. But it is like, I don't know. It's all strange to me. And I think, it's still up in the air. Who knows?
Maybe this movie kind of takes all that into account. I don't know. We'll see with this trailer.
They might be given some rewrites. But even the writer of the script was like cited. I think it was the writer. He was like, well, Richard has the story. Like
It's based on his memoir. Richard Montanez. How do you say his name?
Montanez.
Okay. It's based on his memoir, A Boy, a Burrito, and a Cookie. From janitor to, what's it called? From janitor to executives. That he wrote himself.
That's a terrible name for a book.
Boy, a burrito.
Boy, a burrito, and a cookie, dude. Sounds like a weekend for me.
Flaming Hot Truth is right there.
True. Facts.
But
maybe Flaming Hot might have gotten him into some...
Oh, right.
It's probably owned.
So
that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, obviously it's trademarked. What we do know is that he invented Flaming Hot popcorn.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah, that was so funny. It was like, I did invent that one. And it was like, all right, now's not the time to keep claiming stuff.
But he invented the Flaming Hot popcorn, and then also he was in charge of like, what is it, Sabritones?
Oh, really?
So, what is the name of the company in Mexico? It's like the Mexican Frito-Lay. Sabritas or something like that.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
But he was kind of like the VP of that, like the overseer of that area. So he helped develop like the Chile Limon chips, I believe.
Really?
Yeah, stuff like that. Stuff that would fall under Sabritas.
That is the one thing that's like, even if they can pretend that they didn't know about it and that it's not true, how did he get that position then? Like, what was that story? They never provided like an alternative to explain that he was still legitimately like working for the company at a high position and in charge of all of these things, and that's like factually proven.
It's just so funny. This is like
He worked at the factory. He got his job when he was 18 in 1976 in Rancho Cucamonga. Shout out Rancho. According to records at Frito-Lay, Montanez was promoted to a machinist operator position by 1977. And then I guess...
Right, that was also part of the thing in his story, was that he didn't go straight from being a janitor to an executive. Like he was there. Was already moving up and then became...
the way I don't know how I heard it first, but the way I eventually remembered it, I was like, this janitor just put fucking some tahini or some Lucas powder on some chips, and like, I got a chip for you.
Right?
when I heard that
like
they
Latinos already put hot sauce on their chips and popcorn.
I heard that they did like a suggestion thing. Did you already say that? I was reading a lot.
No, so but that's right. Okay, so two things. One, Ricky's story is the story that I heard, was that this fool just... This is what the story that I heard was, that there was like leftover Cheetos, like just plain ass Cheetos. And he's like, oh, I'm going to take some home. Right. And then he started fucking with it and making like a spice blend.
It already sounds so Mexican.
Yeah.
Right. And so he seasoned them on his own. That's why I didn't think that there was any cheese in hot Cheetos, because I was like, no, this fool made up the spice recipe. It's all spices. There's no cheese in it. That was a story that I had heard. And then he came up and then he started taking them to work. But I think a little bit different was that somebody noticed, like, hey, what is that? What are you eating there?
Why are your fingers red?
Yeah, exactly. And then he was like, I got the chips. Anyway, that's
I believe that the official story and the version that they'll tell in the movie is that it was like a competition.
It wasn't a competition. There was a meeting that happened. Essentially, there was a new manager or a district manager that came in and had a meeting with everybody, all the staff. And essentially said like, hey, everybody can have an idea, like everybody's valuable, and encouraged everybody to come up with ideas that will benefit the company.
Yeah, like I don't think it was like a competition in the sense of like a pie eating contest, but I think it was supposed to be like for incentive.
I didn't think that either.
For incentive, it was like the person who comes up with a good idea, like gets a promotion.
I don't think that there was any incentive. I think it was just like a motivational speech that encouraged people to work hard, essentially.
Yeah, that happens.
And to move up.
If this was an ex-con, they would not have given him no promotion. He was like a nice guy. They're not going to be like, you should be CEO. He's got tattooed ears.
I mean,
J-Ho.
who's better to be a CEO than an ex-con?
So the whole thing was that he was developing this flavor profile that would help. Essentially, he was the consultant to be like, no, Latinos like this, they don't like that.
His own account is slightly different. He says that he called the CEO, Roger Enrico, over the phone and told him about his idea, and that they were like, you should come in and show us this idea.
That's the thing too, is that his story changes a lot. But I think again, here's the thing, is that this guy he's selling a story.
Yes, usually when things, when it's too good to be true, when it sounds too good to be true, usually is kind of a thing. Like, I'm sure there's so many parts of it that are like, people are like, I was at my lowest low and I had nothing. And all I liked was the seasonings from street corn.
Dude, that new elote hot Cheetos, it's like got the funkiest fucking flavor profile, but I still eat it.
Like when
The esquite, yeah. Here's what I think happened is I do think he made the popcorn. I do think he that pushed him above and that he developed all of these other things. I don't think that I don't think he had anything to do with Flamin' Hot Cheetos specifically.
So you're saying he just made some popcorn and then put the spicy on the hot corn that they had already invented?
So there was a thing where the timeline doesn't track because I think they were working on a spicy chip before he gave his pitch. That's not to say that he didn't use his own spice, that he wasn't developing a spicy product on his own, but I don't think that there's something about the timeline that doesn't add up, that either hot Cheetos were already invented or they were working on two different products at the same time. And I think that this is my gripe with Pepsi and with Frito-Lay, is that, look, is he telling the truth? I don't know. Probably not, right?
Probably not.
What's the worst thing that he's done about, what is the harm and what is the real harm in what he's doing?
Perpetuating false hope for other people.
Damn, that's a good point.
That's a good point.
That is a good point.
And why did
I don't think
profit off that?
but I mean, to that point, yes, but no, because he still was a janitor, he still was a machinist, and he still pitched a product that helped propel him forward,
Facts.
right? He still did go through all of that, right? Mm-hmm. But I think, this guy, he's a hustler, I think that he knew what a good story is. I think he knew that nobody's going to give a shit if he's the guy that invented Flaming Hot Popcorn.
For sure.
And so the story that he told was, I invented the hot Cheeto. Because that's more compelling. That's a more popular product.
I could see that.
That has closer ties to the community. And so he started telling that story. And I think, Jesus Christ, something on my finger. I think that...
It's hot Cheeto dust.
No, what the fuck is it? There's fluff on my...
It reminded me of that part in Arrested Development when Tobias licks the pen to start writing, and he's like, And he starts licking it more.
That had to be an ad lib, right?
It had to be for sure.
They just kept it in.
But, so I don't too often do this, but I'm going to take off my American Josh hat for a second and put on my conspiracy Josh hat. Okay. I think it's all bullshit.
It's the same hat.
It's not. Because my conspiracy Josh is directly against.
It's like a top hat with stripes and stars, but you spin it around and it's like a black with the red X, conspiracy there.
I was gonna say that he takes the top half off and then just goes punches it, and then it flips out and it's got
it's antenna on it.
It's foil. It's a foil.
But I think that it's conspiracy Josh here. I think it's complete horseshit. I think the Illuminati of chips was like, we got an idea, Mr. Janitor, and we think that if we have a person who goes from being a janitor to being the CEO of this company, and we give them this backstory, then you and your family are going to be set for life, and we will be able to make millions and billions of dollars off of your people.
You're saying they Suicide Squadded it?
I've never seen that.
Where they're like, they got someone to be like, they created the spokesperson, and then in case it was called out, they could just drop them.
Just drop them. Things that companies do. A company known as Pepsi does this all the time. They create subsidiary brands so that they can cut them off of the slightest.
Did you guys see Where's My Plane? Pepsi, Where's My Plane?
No, dude, I don't watch this. Oh, actually, I did.
Yeah.
Well, I saw the first episode.
So in like the third or fourth episode, because it's a mini series on Netflix, but it's about, they used to have a points program, and they had a commercial that said if you got 7 million points, you could get a fighter jet. And
it was vaguer than that.
No. It was
so
the ad was that you'd get Pepsi merch. I'm trying to speed through this. That's why.
Well, speed.
You would get Pepsi merch, and then during the ad, this kid has a bunch of like Pepsi brand stuff, right? And it's like he puts on sunglasses and it says 50 points. He puts on like a bomber jacket and it says 250 points, and it goes on throughout the ad. And then at the very end, he goes to school in a fighter jet, lands, and it says 7 million points at the bottom.
A thing to remember though is that the commercial is escalating. Like the gifts are getting crazier as they're going on.
Right.
And this last thing that they show is a fighter jet.
It's a fighter jet.
A military plane.
But was I watching a commercial or a sketch show?
No, exactly.
No, it's a commercial.
It's a commercial.
Yeah.
And so that's what this guy makes.
So the whole thing, this whole story, I'm bringing this up to say that Pepsi has been here before. And the whole point of the show is that this changed like advertising laws. Like this changed like not laws necessarily, but this changed like the litigate. No, what is the word I'm looking for? Like the language requirements for advertising, essentially, so that they could prevent like false advertising.
Basically, now at the end of commercials, like
disclaimer. All the disclaimers are because of this.
Yeah, there's like another part about it. I don't remember the full story, but it's like how like every cafe can legally say best coffee in the world because of a similar stipulation in their. That can be part of their advertising, even if it's not technically true.
Subjective.
I don't think that's the same thing, because this was like illegal. Like you buy this many things, and this was like false advertising. That I think is something to do. I mean,
so here's the thing. What I'm trying to get to is in a later episode, they tell this story about a contest that Pepsi had in the Philippines, where they had like a numbers contest where you'd get a code at the bottom of a cap, and if you got a winning code, you would get $1 million. Well, somebody at the factory fucked up and printed hundreds of the winning code.
Fucked up, right?
Yeah. And a bunch of people in the Philippines, like, you also got to remember that, Philippines is not a rich country. So like people were using this as like, this is their way out. Like this is how they can survive. Right. So like people were spending a ton of money on Pepsi because they wanted to win this contest. It was a huge marketing campaign by Pepsi. And then so a bunch of people won and like started protesting against it because they weren't getting paid out. And what ended up happening was there was a class action lawsuit. And I wish I remembered what happened at the end. But essentially they were all given like $20.
The conspiracy hat's still on.
Yeah.
I don't think that was a fuck up, dude. I think they were like, we're going to have to pay somebody $1 million. And they're like, what if we just paid a bunch of people $20?
They
print a bunch of
$1 million.
Exactly. Print a bunch of things. We'll be like, oh, we messed up. They have enough money to take care of that in court.
It was
They could have probably paid $0 and been fine.
I would watch the
Why
episode.
they would pick the Philippines? Because they can get away with it rather than in America if they messed up like that. They might have to
Probably
pay that
mostly
out.
Americans paying those cooks. You know how many people from America are in the Philippines? Anyway,
But anyway, if
That's
you
a whole
watch
topic.
Rich
the documentary series, like it does go into a lot about like how tricky Pepsi is.
and then,
I mean, it's corporations in general.
It's not just a corporation too, though. They're a massive corporation. They're a whole huge.
Would you say they're a megacorp?
Yeah, for sure.
Is that
I don't get it.
But well, they created Yumco just so it wouldn't be that Pepsi was.
Yeah, they do that a lot.
They created a shell company to say so that Pepsi wouldn't be the conglomerate. It's actually this other company, but it is just Pepsi.
That's just what they do, though. They like create, like I was saying, they create a bunch of subsidiaries so they can be like, well, whoops, cut that branch of us off,
Right.
and no one cares. It doesn't affect Pepsi.
Yeah. So to your point, I don't doubt that Pepsi did that. Like they probably they had just as much chance of finding somebody and saying like, "Hey, we want you to tell this story." The only thing that kind of I'm like maybe not is because this story has only traveled apparently regionally, which could be said about there could be something to say about like the population of Latinos throughout the country, but I don't think people on the East Coast have really heard of this. And for a while, I do feel like Hot Cheetos, it wasn't until like late after 2010. I thought Hot Cheetos were popular my whole life. Like I love Hot Cheetos,
Yeah.
but I don't think that they were really popular until like after post 2010.
Yeah, but that's also a
Maybe.
very Mexican thing to eat spicy stuff as a child.
Right. But I just mean, that's what I mean is like
Yeah.
it was a thing within the Latino community.
I think even later than that, because I moved to Seattle for a couple of years in like 2013, 2014.
Right.
And they didn't have like spicy chips.
Right. And there are still people like I have friends in like Pennsylvania and like, you know,
Send me Flamin' Hot Cheetos.
yeah,
Yeah, I know.
because they miss it, you know, and they don't have it
That's
out
some
there.
California shit.
That's the thing on TikTok. These dudes get like they've created a business where they'll buy bulk items of snacks, mostly from around the world, but they also do theme snacks like hot Cheetos, spicy foods, and they'll essentially make you a care package and send it to you for like $100. But it's like 2 months worth of snacks.
But that's why I'm just like, okay, maybe they're going based off of like concentration of populations where it's like maybe he wasn't going to those areas because there wasn't a large enough Latin population for him to be telling this story. You know what I mean?
And it's just I think it's another thing, like people on the East Coast or up north, they literally don't care about these chips. Like in SoCal, it's like a personality thing. Like it's part of your personality to like Hot Cheetos.
They're like, get that corn out of my face.
Yeah. We know Hot Cheeto girls.
Yeah, it's a real
You
thing.
know what I mean?
Yeah.
Hot Cheeto girls have Cookie Monster pajama pants sometimes, you know?
And SpongeBob slippers.
Even if it wasn't like that, some, you know, Illuminati group
Oh, yeah. Foil.
came up and like plucked him out and were like, we're going to change your life. At the very least, what has clearly happened, so, like people had to have known is the thing. Like this story was huge. And for it to be, this story to be covered on in like one, even if you just think California alone, California is a huge, huge like economic part of the country. So like, even if you're just thinking California alone,
Especially the Latino community.
yeah, exactly. So somebody had to have heard about it, you know, like because he traveled, you know, all over the country. They had to have heard about this dude, but you know, I could see that like the woman, I keep forgetting, I don't know her name, but the woman that came up with the name Flamin' Hot, she was the one, like she had never heard of this guy. I could see that, like her being the one, like employees, people on the team not knowing about this, but people higher up than her had to have known because
This is interesting.
because she contacted in the article, she contacted the legal team of Pepsi And they were like, we don't have any record of this. And it's like, dude, Pepsi is on top of copyright infringement. They're on top of like class action lawsuits, cease and desist, not class action lawsuits, cease and desist. Like they're on top of everything. They're just like Disney. Like anything that goes outside that loses them money or that like
they pay a lot of money to make sure that
brand.
doesn't happen.
Exactly. So they had to have known about this. They're making a fucking movie. Like they're making a movie about this.
And the movie went through.
They were shooting it. Like they were about to start production.
They know it's gonna sell.
That's what I'm saying.
I'm agreeing with you, dude.
Because it's all just politics, and I love that you put on your conspiracy hat. Because if this all went down the way it is, it's like a senator or someone moving on to and advancing their role and trying to put someone in. Not quite the same as what we're talking about here. They're like, this is the script. Fulfill this role, play to the script, and then the guy's like, I'm going to add a few words to the script. I didn't make flaming hot popcorn. I made the Cheetos.
You know what I was thinking was funny is that you guys have red fingers.
Concern.
We do.
You guys all have red fingers.
I like hot Cheetos, all right? I'm still going to keep eating them.
You guys are on the take.
I still got residue of
these
my
corporations
fingernail.
who are capitalizing on our people. You guys want to say, oh, white people this, white people that, and then you're going to go here and get all red fingered. Like that's not a mark of the beast.
It's Cheeto fingers.
It's like like when you vote in a foreign election and there's ink on your finger.
I got a Cheetos thing, soul food. Like, there's no escaping it. Richard Montanez did his job, okay? I'm hooked.
We're still talking about it to this day. To this
day. We had fucking hot Cheetos for breakfast. There's no escape, man.
We're hooked.
They
did do
sunk
that
there.
today.
I didn't.
What?
So I did do that today. I had hot Cheetos.
Anyway,
Not me.
listen, because the question comes up is like, are you going to support the movie? Yes.
Yeah, I'll watch it.
Yeah, I'm going to watch it.
I mean, yeah, I just have to watch it.
On top of that, because of the thing, I've bumped heads with people who are like, that fool's a liar. He's a scam artist. He took the credit of women. And I'm like,
I've heard that argument before. That
Which
it was
is-
like a girl who invented it.
which is crazy to me. For
That a girl
for
had
that.
an invention?
I was gonna.
What? Wait, what was the question?
That a girl could invent something?
Wow, Dominic.
Wow, Dominic, bigot.
Dominic the douchebag, huh?
The misogynist caught red-fingered. I finally got to use that joke.
Earlier in this recording, I said something that went against the heart of my values. It does not represent me. Fuck this shit, dog. Anyway, listen. That was supposed to be a bigger joke, like the parody of the apology, but you guys...
Well,
You
We're
went
feeling
too
it.
fast for us to laugh.
no, you're taking some.
I'm
you look
distracted.
behind- you got
I have ADHD, dog. There's patterns and lines happening.
You have an ADHD dog?
There's literally
You don't
nothing
see what I
happening.
see, dog.
I look at it every day.
You don't have my brain.
Oh.
There's the door handles and that window are creating this like perspective lines trick. And so I'm trying to line it up.
I don't
It's
know
called
why.
architecture.
Listen,
And you can
buddy,
probably barely see it.
Don't call me
barely
buddy.
fool.
Yeah, dog.
I'm not a
My
bear.
American hat's off right now.
I'm not a bear fool.
That would be funny. Every time you take it off, you have an accent all of a sudden.
I don't do things like a bear fool. I do it manly fool.
Yeah.
I don't do it barely.
Bears eat berries. You never catch me eating fruit.
Somebody said something, and I was gonna look it up, and I don't know what it is now.
Okay, so people are arguing that Richard Montanez stole the credit from a woman, right? That take is wild to me. Women, ew. Okay,
We swear.
Clip it.
but because it's the thing is like, okay, let's say his story is not true, which it probably isn't. Okay, two things can be true: is that they if you're choosing like, okay, give the woman her credit. It's like, okay, a team of white people went into a Latin community, stole their idea, and then rebranded it. Right? It's like, oh, cool. That's a very heartwarming story. But at the end of the day, like this fool, like it's an inspiring story. It you change things, because here's the thing is that let's say that he told this story. Let's say that he told this story accurately, right? Hot Cheeto popcorn, going to Mexico, blah, blah, like all this stuff. Let's say he told that story and it was successful in the way where he's a success story. Hot Cheetos isn't part of that, but he's a success story. If he goes around and sells it and the history were to follow through that way, again, this is speculation, this is a hypothesis, but let's say that he writes a memoir and then that gets picked up for a book, and then, that book gets picked up for a movie, right? They direct this movie. A good writer is changing that shit to make it so that he invented Hot Cheetos.
Yeah, and unfortunately, it's been written by somebody who makes Christian movies.
There you go. So they're already used to lying.
Nice. We bash religion.
Hey, we're bashing everybody.
It is an inspiring story. If you work hard enough,
Inspiring story.
Women and Christians, nobody's safe.
if you work hard enough
Edgelord over here.
and you move up through the ranks, maybe one day you too will be useful enough to a corporation
Exactly.
to
for
be
sure.
exploited.
That's
dude.
that's the thing. I mean, because at the end of the day, like, one, Eva Longoria has done a lot in recent years to like boost the profile of Latinos in film industry.
Has she?
Yeah, she's
That's
for
the lady-
she's for representation. She's she works with like NGL, I believe, and
Oh, Eva Longoria. Oh,
but
Eva
like
Longoria. Jesus
like
Christ.
like what I'm saying is like people like they're doing
Sweet mother.
these things helps the community as a whole.
I mean, you
feel
see
like.
Josh turning a new leaf over here.
Ryan, what's up?
She's the lady from Desperate Housewives, right?
I believe so.
Is she really?
Yeah. She's the
don't look desperate.
Latina one.
Yeah, but anyway, I'm just it's such a crazy thing because it's like they should make a movie about this fool's hustle. Like like they should tell the truth and
They
be
could
like,
call it Flaming Hot Cheese.
I'll bet you it'll happen.
It's
I'll bet
funny,
you,
like part of our what's inspirational to us is like, hey, he hustled a corporation. That's
To be
what's
honest,
up.
that's what I thought American Hustle was about.
Yeah.
But the thing is, and we talked about this before in the Isimo episode, is like it's crazy. It's like there's so much effort into discrediting Richard Montanez.
Yeah.
Like which not to say that like, hey, you shouldn't tell the truth, but the amount of like like energy that was given to discredit this person and to like and the amount of effort that people took to say that Mexicans actually didn't invent hot Cheetos is wild to me. Like, why is that? There's so much energy for that. It's the same thing that I feel when people argue against like, oh, you can't change it to Latinx, and you got to change the whole, like, it's like you didn't care about words being changed until it was like linked to queer people.
Yeah.
And like, there's like stuff like that when it's, like the whole thing with like pride and kids. It's like, oh, you care about kids all of a sudden when it has to do with gay people, but you don't care about like
When
them
your
getting
churches are actually abusing them.
yeah. And they're like, but anyway, I mean, I know this, but I'm just quick firing a bunch of hot takes right now, but it's like,
Flaming Hot Takes.
listen, okay, but it's like, it's strange to me. Like people are getting joy out of like discrediting this story is what it feels like.
I see that point.
Weird.
It's
Yeah,
weird.
like that's something I wanted to bring up when you were originally explaining the guy that wrote the article, where it gave off the feeling like even if the whole girlfriend thing had nothing to do with it, where he found this one path and without verifying any other aspect of it, he just went down it. It's like the first episode of King of the Hill when the social services guy gets a report about Bobby but doesn't verify anything outside of the rumors being spread, and then at the end his boss is like, well, did you talk to the coach? You were supposed to. Like, it's like a very obvious, like, you didn't check with the one person that could have verified it.
I see what you're saying, but the thing that's different is, I mean, I think that the guy did go and check with certain people and he was hitting a lot of Like the story just could not be verified. And the people he did ask were like, we can't verify this story. So that was taken as truth, right? Like that's what was taken as truth. But then I think, again, Pepsi is doing this back and forth. They released a statement like a few days after that article was written, after they were officially quoted. I don't think that they expected backlash at the level that they got. And so then they issued another statement saying like, giving that story of like, oh, there's a chance that two teams could have been working on the same thing without the other one knowing. So it would make sense that this person didn't know that this person was making this product, but they did come up with the name Flamin'
This
Hot.
person didn't know we were spreading lies, but now they do.
Well, what I'm saying is, like, I feel like if you were to ask the person that's telling the story, at the very least, either he does or does not have someone he could point you to verify his story.
Yeah, and I do think that the way that the article is written, again, I'm gonna 100% say I'm being biased, so read it for yourself and see what you think. But like, the article is written of just like taking other people's word for it, like that clearly this guy can't be telling the truth. So like whatever, the people that are telling that he's talking to about it, he's just taking their word for it. Like there's no verifying what they're saying is true.
Right.
Just what he is saying is not true.
Which is just like, that's literally what they're accusing him of doing.
Right. Yeah, it's weird. That article is written. It's written as like at the end of it, he went, like it's such a weird like just the energy around this. And again, it's like the even the scandal breaking. It's like nobody gave a shit about Hot Cheetos before, but as soon as like this guy. The people that didn't know this story are like, that fool's a scam artist. Like this guy sucks. Like he's a liar and all this stuff. It's like they're all using this story that they don't know about, and they're taking this article at like nobody's thinking critically about it. Essentially, they're just taking people's word for it because it was something that they heard, and I guess it seems far fetched, or it seems like. There's something about the story of a janitor becoming a VP and inventing this cultural phenomenon that they're like, oh, there's no way that guy has to be lying. Like, who cares about his story? Who cares about who he is? He's a liar.
Would they believe somebody dropped their chocolate into some peanut butter?
I don't think it sounds far-fetched. I think it sounds too perfect. It sounds ideal.
I'm not disagreeing with you, but again, this guy his job became selling a story. So he's figured out, we'll say whatever you will, but it's like this guy has figured out how to tell a good story. And that's what it is. Like, and there's, personally, I don't necessarily think there's anything wrong with that. Because the thing is that when he's talking to corporations, the idea is that you should be listening to everybody. That's the story that he's telling them, that you should be with respect. Right? When he's talking at colleges or high schools, he's telling young people, like, your ideas are valuable, they're worth something, you can work hard and make something of yourself. You know, at the root of all of this is just like, there's a lot of positivity. Yeah, he's making tens of thousands of dollars, but he's getting that money from corporations. Like, I don't, personally, if he were to be taking money, if he was fucking Sean Kinging it and taking money from just the general public, people are sending their money out of their pocket and they can't afford to live. That is a scam artist. That is like, you know, if it's Joel Osteen, you know, like those are scam artists, truly.
Yeah, he's just a spokesperson.
Yeah. I don't think that there is anything. I do see the argument for like him giving people false hope, but again, a lot of that is based in actual things that happened to him.
Yeah, it's not like they literally picked a janitor and were like, you are now the VP of Hot Cheetos. Like,
you're going to be a star, kid.
I guess I kind of see it like if like a baseball player was on steroids and they were like slamming home runs, getting all these good things, and then they're being like, hey, kid, you could do this too if you wanted. But it's under the pretense that he's not doing those things and that it was like legit work. But he really got boosted. He's really getting a little boost and some enhancements.
yes.
So here's the thing about that. there's enhancements to his story, but not to his abilities, because he still had the VP job. And also, like, one of the things too is that Gerardo's dad confirmed that he worked with him. He started in the same company as him.
I don't give a fuck about Gerardo's dad.
No, but
Anecdotal
understand where I'm
bullshit.
coming from.
Gerardo the liar?
Understand where I'm coming from. That this is a real person. He started in a real position.
I understand that.
Right?
I know the story.
Yeah.
They're trying to sell us. Okay.
Yes. But it's like
I was about to say fuck Gerardo's dad.
but it's like you're using that baseball argument, right? Like that they did, like Mark McGwire, Barry Bonds did steroids.
Mm-hmm. Those are old baseball players.
I know.
Baseball
Barry
is
Bonds.
a
Kids don't know.
sport.
They're old.
Those are old baseball players.
Damn it.
So
It's
it's
like baseball is a
I'm
sport.
trying to follow that logic, right? Of like they cheated and they still sold a story. They were still really good players, and they were kind of saying any kid can do it. But it's like,
They do.
Well,
this
there's
to
the asterisk. That's the asterisking a story, but that's also the whole point of like. That's a little bit different again because it's when do they start juicing?
Okay. So I just use that as an example, but there's actually countless examples of people doing the "you could be just like me" thing, but really they have financial backing from people who
That's also
gain
true.
a lot of money from them and their story of, the rags to riches story.
Right.
so I kind of
Okay, name
understand
one.
that because the
But
joke.
you're not wrong.
The joke I made earlier is like you have to be exploitable to be valuable
100%, and that's true.
in capitalism.
I hate to
you
quote
know.
him because everyone that watches the show and you guys who are on the show hate him, but Kanye West said,
Oh,
"If you
fuck
can't
this
be
guy.
used, you're useless," and I like that.
But that's because that's capitalism, right? Like,
Yeah.
You have to be exploitable to be of higher value to these corporations.
of use.
Yeah. No, I mean, again, I do think that.
It's like adopting a puppy. You go for the one that's doing the tricks.
I think.
Not everybody. Some people like dogs that can't breathe.
I think.
Hey, pugs are fun.
They are cute.
I think
And they're
They're
forever.
that his story.
It's you.
I think that again, this is just what I believe is that he did invent the things that he did invent. He did develop the products that he did develop. That part of the story I believe is real.
What a statement.
And I think that the whole adding the hot Cheetos thing came later, that he just tied that in because all of this stuff, Pepsi had to know about it. PepsiCo had to know about it for all of the things that happened to take place from the beginning of his first speaking engagement to a movie being produced. They had to have heard about it and known. Somebody on top had to have known.
I mean,
about
let's
it.
be real. When have you ever in your entire life seen an 18-year-old janitor?
all the time.
Really? I always see old men janitors.
I
Very
see-
rarely
started when they were
18-year-olds.
18.
yeah, they started from
I've seen both. I have seen both, but
A straight janitor or someone cleaning something?
yes,
no, a janitor.
Okay.
yeah.
All right.
I saw a guy in my high school who was like 18, 19, 20 after high school, being a janitor at my high school.
Really?
Was a janitor, worked at McDonald's, had a kid on his own.
Christ.
Taking care of it, worked as a janitor, worked at McDonald's, was taking care of his
What
kid.
race was he?
And
Kurt
then that
Cobain.
kid became a janitor.
Are you sure he was 18 is what I'm saying? Maybe he just had good genetics.
Kurt Cobain dropped out of high school and a year later became a janitor at the same high school.
Nerd.
And that's
I don't believe it.
where there was a song on the board, and that's how he got teenage.
Actually, the story about that was that there was a brand of deodorant called Teenage Spirit or Teen Spirit. And then he was at a party and somebody wrote on the wall, Kurt Cobain smells like Teen Spirit. So then he saw that and was like, oh, that sounds cool. He didn't know that Teen Spirit was a deodorant.
Yeah. How about them apples?
Yeah, is that what Capitol Records said about
Sub Pop record.
Quite-
Yeah, Sub Pop said it?
Quite possibly.
Hilarious. Yeah, that's what I'm saying, dude. There's these people who they're like, this guy's grunge, but really he's got rich parents.
Did he have rich parents?
Probably.
Who?
Most grunge kids do.
I mean, Seattle,
In the 90s?
the grunge scene.
Oh, yeah, there was less money then. This fucking guy, dude.
I mean,
No, I'm just
I'd
kidding.
be inclined to believe he probably had rich parents, but I
You've
don't
never
know.
seen a celebrity who was poor.
Richard Montanez.
Very few.
Richard Montanez.
Montanez.
He had a great job when he was 18.
Wait. Set it up again.
Anyway,
Saying hello to my little trip.
we're gonna watch this fucking trailer.
Okay, I got a better segue. You know what? Let's just watch the trailer and see.
Fine.
Yeah, Kurt Cobain now.
His name's Montoya. I'm sorry.
His name's Montanez.
God damn it!
So there you go, guys. There you go. That's what happens when Hulu and Disney get together to capitalize on our
Disney.
people.
Flaming hot, more like
And I'm starting to agree with you.
ice cold.
Flaming
Get out
hot
of here.
cheese.
Thanks a lot, Eva Longoria.
More like mild at best.
It ain't
She's
easy
hot.
being that fucking dumb.
More like gringo spicy, eh?
The cheddar ones.
They should have called it Cool Ranch.
I'm going to go see it for his boss. Wait, you can't even go see it. Jesus. I'm glad actually it's not going to be in the theater because that would have been the most annoying movie to watch in the theater and try and listen to it over all the crinkling bags that people.
Oh my god, that was really funny. Here's the thing. Look, we just watched fucking Blood In, Blood Out.
Yeah,
That was better.
this has the same energy.
This has the same Blood In, Blood Out energy.
Maybe even Vatos Locos.
No.
I don't know, dude. That was very hammy.
It was this. What
It'd be funny if his manager was the dude from Blood and Blood
listen,
Out.
I
Miklo.
we're pro Latinos. We're pros Latin stories. Latinos in the industry, getting work.
Blood In, Blood Out was also made by Disney.
That's true.
This is
If
the
it's
That's
like
the
you're
problem.
about-
You know what?
Disney's-
That's actually
Disney's
real.
the problem.
Disney's the problem because they have to camp it up. Like if this was
Disney's
maybe
great.
they're not the problem, but but I mean no. There's something to that about it being a Disney movie and them hamming it up.
Hamming it up.
It is very. It's very campy. It's very over the top. Like
Dangerously cheesy.
Nice. I get it.
oh man.
I didn't get it at first. Got it now.
I think that this movie was made for people Richard Montanez's age.
Yeah. I mean, yeah.
I think this movie was made because of the same reason Blood In, Blood Out got made, which is these people were trying to capitalize on our people, and they needed a way to do it, and they're like, let's give what do Latinos like? And the number one thing's hot Cheetos.
Spicy chips and
Spicy
lowriders.
stuff and lowriders. Yeah, he was in a gang.
And getting out of this.
I mean, he's from
hood.
Ontario. Shout out Ontario. Shout out Rancho.
Well, that's that Rancho.
Rancho
hate
what?
there.
It's not an enemy. No, they're not enemies at all. Ontario got a lot of fools like that there. A lot of corny ass Mexican fools.
Yeah, I mean,
I mean, corn is good.
But it really is. God, I love corn.
What are your thoughts on the trailer, Ryan?
I can definitely see where it's like this is the part. I can see why they expect us to like it, but it's still part of that thing. Like those jokes back to back. The PhD joke feels like that might be something like my uncle would say, and then the Cool Ranch thing is like kind of an over commercially joke. Like, it feels like it's written for Latinos, but they still have to be safe about it. Like I feel like the Cool Ranch joke is obviously like a white people joke, but they can't say white people. Instead, he says that lady.
I
don't disagree with you.
feel like people might like it, but I still feel it's condescending.
It does feel a little bit condescending.
But don't you see that
also-
flaming hot Cheetos themselves are condescending? Don't you guys understand that
No.
a corporation owned by white people selling a Latino thing to Latino people that was made by a Latino person, but they're reaping all the benefits?
I mean, in a way, that's
This
fair.
is the problem with capitalism, dog.
No, it's not just capitalism. It's about abuse.
See how he gets? It is.
Who's
It is the problem with
abuser?
capitalism. Because they created this idea, they created the core idea of this, that if you work hard for a company, you dedicate your life to a company, that you'll get paid in return.
It does.
And so part of that is making that company billions of dollars.
It doesn't matter if you say company or if you say city or if you say
Yeah.
group, bloods.
Because it's
whatever.
capitalism.
It doesn't matter if it's not just capitalism though. It's the abuse of any system. If you're in a communist system, they're like, you got to do work for the better of all the people. whatever you want to call it. At the end of the day, you're putting in man hours that they benefit from.
Yes.
The people?
No, the people's. You don't know this one?
You don't like people? You don't like the people?
The people is a term used by governments to try and align themselves with us.
Sure.
All right,
That's
guys.
true, too.
I take you to 1959, Roswell.
Where hot Cheetos were made in a lab.
What's funny about it is there's a painting behind all of us, and we have like Un Poquito paintings, and you have like this fucking eye staring at you. Like it looks like with context, it looks like a conspiracy
That's
painting.
funny. That's funny.
So
I drew that.
I will say that trailers, modern day trailers for movies are terrible across the board. I don't think this movie is going to be much better than that trailer, but they really fucking...
Why do you think it's called a trailer, bro? They're taking us on a trip.
A traitor.
So ridiculous.
But there's just a lot of things. That little kid that they got to be his son is like...
He's going to make the movie.
He's on the rise.
He's going to have all the funny lines.
It's a good opportunity for him, but the lines that they wrote for him are really bad. He's not...
Actually,
He's a kid. I'm not going to criticize the kid, but I just mean they because he's also in that Lopez versus Lopez show.
that's super funny. Like, the idea of criticism. Like, that kid sucked.
No,
I'm just joking.
the thing
I
is
just
like
think it's funny.
the thing is like that kid. I forget his name, but like I think his name is
Montanez
Bryce or something.
Jr.
No, but he got popular on TikTok for doing lip syncs with his dad, and they were good. They're funny.
I have seen that.
Yeah,
kid.
like that's how he got his rise. So he started getting these acting opportunities.
I don't like it.
And he can't, like, the thing is, like, his videos are funny. He's good at them. You know, kids acting is kind of weird. Like
Exploitation.
exploitation.
His name is Bryce Gonzalez.
Bryce, yeah. I don't think this isn't a comment on him or his abilities, but this does feel very exploitative of kids. You know, what's the term for like stage moms, stage parents?
I think we get the point of what you're saying.
Yeah, Shia LaBeouf's dad.
Yeah.
Well,
Which was not true, by the way.
they're street performers, I thought.
That movie he made
Yeah.
it up.
What movie?
Shia LaBeouf grew up as a street clown.
I don't know his life.
I'm not talking about the movie. I don't even know what that movie's about.
Yeah, I don't know either, but I know his parents were street performers and they were like, dance kid, we gotta eat.
Yeah. But anyway, so there's just a lot of this trailer. The lines, this script was written to hit you over the head with like, it feels disingenuous.
I agree. I'm gonna like lift my conspiracy hat for a half second, and I'm gonna be regular person for a normal second. If this movie does give corporations the idea that movies with Latino people could be successful, and it does well, and it gives all these people opportunities to go on and do more things. It was because of what you said about that kid. Like, this is a good opportunity for him. Mm-hmm. And I was like, that's not untrue. If this provides like a platform for people like us to get a goddamn movie deal.
You can say it louder.
Okay. Got nervous. I'm just joking. If this gives Latino people a platform or gives corporations the idea that they can put some money behind us, because we don't get no movies. I don't have any. I don't know any Latino movies that I'm like that are good.
This feels like what we were talking about Chupa, right? About how you have this director coming in and everybody's like, oh, it's fucking Iñárritu's son or whatever. Is it Cuarón or is it Iñárritu? I think it's Cuarón. But the director's Mexican. Everybody, when we came out like making a joke about that movie, people were coming out of the woodwork to be like, actually the director's Mexican, so I don't know what you guys are talking about. And then it was like all of the producers, all of the writers of that movie are white. So that tells me that like they wanted to have this movie made and we're like, we need a fucking Mexican director who can do it. Let's give this kid.
They did a Montañez.
Right, they did a Montañez, but they got so for like this story. I mean, Eva Longoria was pushing for it, but what I hate to say this because, you know, maybe she's making the exact movie that she wants to make, but this is a Disney movie. Mm-hmm. I think that somebody above
Yeah.
Eva Longoria has a lot more control over the final cut and the final like things in the movie, and it might be a vehicle for her to direct more.
And I think this is like an overall like theme in the Latino community of like, you still have to play ball till eventually get what you want.
Right.
I mean, that happens in movies in general.
Yeah, I don't say that's an industry thing.
That's an industry thing. But even when like there's a hunger for stuff we want to make, they're like, hey, but still make it palatable as possible.
Which is funny.
Conspiracy hats back on, by the way, boys.
I think that makes this movie kind of meta of like it's about making something palatable for an audience.
That's funny. But what's interesting is a lot of the people that come on and like criticize us on social media, not our followers, but like people outside of it. It's weird because I feel like a lot of them are the same type of people that would criticize us for complaining about this movie and about how Mexicans are portrayed in the movie, because they just don't like to see people complain in their view. But if they were to watch this trailer on their own, I feel like they're also the type of people that be like, Mexicans don't talk like that, like da da da, like.
And we don't.
Yeah, you're not Mexican.
Sometimes
But
we do.
to that
I'm
point,
Mexican.
I thought you were Ecuadorian.
My dad. Dude,
My
you don't listen.
dad.
Look at my face.
I thought you were Josh the American.
I'm probably more Mexican than you guys are. You got Spanish heritage. I don't know.
It's quite
Yeah, I
possible.
mean-
I mean, you make a good argument.
Wait, but how
Y'all
are you
European.
Mexican?
My mom. The other person.
My
in the,
mom.
The way he said
Yeah.
my mom, yeah, oh, he's Mexican.
When this movie was first announced, there was a lot of hype behind it, and then the scandal happened. I think part of that is the reason why that this is going to be on streaming only. But also on top of that, it doesn't seem like it's a very strong movie, and so it might just be direct to streaming. So that people. When does it get released? In June?
Let's be honest. We know why it's going direct to streaming, dog. Because we're the people that are gonna watch streaming. They wait for it to come on streaming. They're not gonna go pay $15.
That's not true.
I don't know, dude. Everyone I know.
Mexicans make up 30% of film ticket sales.
30
across the board. 30.
That's less than half.
And what's our population
Yeah,
in
but
this
when
country?
Like fucking 60.
16 or 15%.
Sure.
So last I checked.
If we were looking at productions
Per
made
capita, we're like
race demographics, Latinos across the board make up 30% of ticket sales for genres.
I'm not
Yeah.
gonna Google this.
That's 30%. Yeah, that's what we mean. It's like it's 30% of all genres.
which is pretty wild.
It's also gonna be in theaters.
Oh, well, there it is.
Sorry. There goes all that.
Well, hopefully, I don't know. It's a weird thing because it's like it's like what Ricky was saying. I want to support the movie. This trailer does not make me want to watch the movie, and it's not because I feel like there's a way to portray Mexicans that maybe came from the hood, quote unquote hood background. There's that are immigrants that are low.
I mean, just this food did it already.
I mean, yeah, they do pretty well.
They did pretty well. It's like, it's just, we still have to fight through all this. Like, we get this full, but we'll still get this trailer, this movie. Like,
You're talking about Richard, right?
Huh?
This
this
full
Richard.
No, I'm just joking.
PhD. I think it's still a movie. It's still progress. It feels condescending. I'm probably still gonna watch it.
I'm going to watch it to give it a fair assessment.
Yeah.
And I'm saying right now, based off of this trailer, it's not looking good. But I will go in with high hopes of like, I'm hoping to come back from watching the movie with something positive to take. I don't think it's going to be a fucking world-changing, earth-shattering performance from anybody.
No.
I might be surprised, but what I'm hoping is that it's a feel-good movie. It's a fun movie. I hope that there's some good jokes in there, and like I hope that it's at the very least it's entertaining.
Well, it's made by Disney, so at the very least, it'll have something for everyone.
Yeah, good and bad. But the same argument for watching Blood and Blood Out. It's like The acting's cheesy and campy. It's not the best, but the way I felt after watching Blood and Blood Out, they still told a good story.
Right.
And I understood what they're talking about, and it still evoked something out of me. So just because it's like not the best writing already and not the best acting doesn't mean I won't feel something about it.
This feels like a movie that should have been made in the 90s. Like, it feels like the acting style and the campiness of it is like a 90s movie.
But you know what? Even Mexicans deserve Homeward Bound level movie energy.
That's what I was gonna say too. Like, I just don't like. Can we get a movie that's not about being Mexican or being Latino,
Right.
Or being
No, I
whatever your
agree.
race is? Like, can we get The Matrix with Mexicans, but not being like we're Mexican Matrix?
No, I agree.
And I think we should be allowed all of it.
No, it's not. I don't think it's a thing about allowed. I think that it's one of those things about risk taking. Like, people aren't willing to take risks. Corporations aren't
We're
willing
not
to
allowed
take
to
risks.
take those risks.
It's not even just us about being allowed. Like, we don't take those risks.
Yeah.
We keep it about being Mexican because that's what they buy the Hot Cheeto movie.
So, to that point, Ryan, were you going to say something?
No.
Okay, because you kind of kept leaning forward. I just wanted to make sure that I give you an
nodding.
opportunity. Okay.
He can't.
To that point, it does. Fuck, what was I going to say? Oh, about it reaching a broader audience. It's something weird about how, like, white, non-Latino people or just white people, like, maybe it's not white people, the general public, and this all could be coming from executives and studios, but the idea, like you said, we should be able to tell a story that is just a regular story, right? But it's like the idea of like, oh, people won't understand
Right.
that Mexicans, like essentially they're trying to get white people to understand Mexicans. So the only way that they can do that is to show them like, this is what it's like to be Mexican. And then, you know what I mean? Is what I'm saying making sense?
It makes sense. I think we just need, because corporations, they're not like making logical decisions. They do everything based on money. So they need a reason, because otherwise they have no proof of concept.
There has been there was why did I make that sound?
Yeah.
There was an interview
much
there was an interview that somebody gave where they've talked about scripts and stories about writing the stories that we're talking about, where it should just be like an accessible story that can reach anybody, but the main character's name is Fernando, and the studio's like, but why is he Mexican?
Yeah, it doesn't serve the story.
Yeah, does it serve the story?
And you learn that in writing. Like, if the person's Mexican, then he's got to do Mexican stuff.
Right.
But that's not the deal here because of assimilation. And that's not how we live our lives. We live our lives like based on American traditions because
Right.
we're Americans.
Right.
We just look like Mexicans, and white people don't identify with that because that's not them. It's
Yeah.
not their face.
Right.
So they're like, they do the same thing we do. We see white people and we're like, who is this guy?
Gross.
I don't do it.
No, that's
I mean,
that's
fuck
not,
white people.
I mean, but I don't agree with that because I think we're grown up in like we're taught that American history is our history. Like yeah, we grow up with American culture, true, but like the history that they teach us in school of like, George Washington came over and like,
But you know that's not true. You know that, but you like they tell you that, but you know.
but you
we
understand.
know.
But do you understand what I'm saying? Is
understand.
that you're growing up steeped in whiteness?
Well, we're not. We know we can. If otherwise, we'd be like Christopher Columbus discovered America.
No, now we know. When I was younger, I had to I was steeped in it and have to change and see the reality of all this.
That happened to me when I was like 14, maybe.
Do you understand what I'm saying of the difference between me being able to see Liar Liar and to be able to be like, oh, this is just a movie with Jim Carrey,
Yeah.
and then.
I understand.
And then, but for white people, the reverse is like they won't connect to fucking Born in East LA. Like,
Right. I understand that. It takes a little while. It takes a while. Jordan Peele, his movies, it's a black director, made for a black audience, but white people, Mexican people, everyone's able to go and watch this movie. It's because it's been. I was about to say something crazy.
Yeah.
Because I still have my conspiracy hat on, right?
Mm-hmm.
These things get put into our purview.
Yes.
Yeah, but there's a little bit of a difference because I have strong sentiment that white people view American culture and diversity through a white and black lens.
Yes.
And everybody else is kind of an afterthought, if thought at all.
No one ever thinks of Mexican slaves.
Right. So like movies like Get Out, where it's like it's about blackness, that is more accessible to white people because they inherently understand the dichotomy of white and black.
Inherently are dissecting blackness.
Right.
Their whole lives. They're understanding and dissecting it.
And they're also filled with self-hatred.
Some of them.
Right. But the difference is that like Latino culture, this is where like Latino ideology, not ideology, but identity plays a role, because I believe out of like, if you know, all the demographics, right? You have your Asian, Middle Eastern, there's a lot of like specifically with like Desi people and East Asian people, you know, they are stereotyped as being the model minority. So they're more, what?
Sorry.
They're more approachable. Their stories are more approachable than other demographics, right? And there's also something to be said about the fetishization or about the fantasy of ancient cultures of like being very exotic, the exotification of Asian Desi people, right? A lot of Middle Eastern countries as well. But there's something about Mexicans and Latinos as a whole that is like, we're the most not un-American or anti-American, but we're the most like non-American. Like especially Mexico, right? Because of the southern border.
Americans view all these everything here as black and white, and then basically Mexicans or other brown people that they don't view as like either intrinsically part of the history or things they're actually interested in, are like a disruption in a way. And we were never meant to be heard from. We're meant to do jobs for them. Like, I don't know. That's how I understand it.
I mean, I think that's like a today thing, right? We're not talking about historically.
Both.
Okay, because I thought historically they like discarded the Latino, the Mexican.
They did.
Right.
And they weren't trying to get us to be slaves. They were just like, you guys suck. We got our own slaves from Africa.
Yes.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. The lens of white and black. Right. And then not to say that like there's a hierarchy of like non-white, you know, minorities, people of color, but like the way that I kind of view how the general white public views Latinos in this country historically has been through the lens of like, it's white and black people. And then we have that's why we have like our Asians and Indians, they're seen as the model minorities. They're valuable. Part of that is the immigration laws that allowed wealthy immigrants to come into this country over poor immigrants. So that's why we see them here now as being, you know, the model minority. And then, you know, it's everybody else. And then there's something about Mexicans, and it could be because of the rebellion. But like, even when we were studying the walkouts at the 1964, like the original Chicano movement, when that popped off, is like the reason why that movement took place at all was because kids were being pushed into domestic labor and general labor. They were actively being dissuaded from seeking higher education, but it was because of the views it was within their culture to be dumb and lazy and only be good for manual or domestic labor.
And before that, repatriation had already occurred. Like, we had a lot of Latinos, Mexicans specifically, in America doing a lot of these jobs. And then when the Great Depression and stuff happened, I forget exactly the timeline, they just rounded up Mexicans, illegal or not illegal, and put them back into Mexico. And then now the population starts rising again, and the walkouts happen because they're trying to keep us as the replacement servant class. Like,
Yeah, and this is going a lot deeper than I had intended, but all that reaches the level of like why I think this is all I'm hypothesizing of like why our stories are so like why our stories are like
Important.
all about but I'm just talking about why the movies that get made about Latinos that are greenlit by corporations like Disney have to have some type of inspiration or have to have some type of class struggle, race struggle,
For sure.
all of that.
And which I get kind of. So I'm slightly lifting my conspiracy hat right now. I get kind of, because I also don't like when we see like suburban white Latinos, I'll say, dude, just to speak your guys' language, you fucking racist dudes. Sliding my hat back on.
Assimilated Latinos.
There you go, assimilated Latinos. I'm sick of seeing that shit. Like some fools that it's like they were like, took a white sitcom or something, and then they were just like, make them Mexican. That's how the George Lopez show was for me. I didn't like the George Lopez show. That's just me. That seems
it was
like,
written by white people.
Yeah, that's fine. It seemed like it was just a regular sitcom that they just changed the variables in.
I mean,
So I guess that's like a split in my brain. Like I'm saying the opposite of what I was saying earlier, but I also don't like that.
so that's actually a good point, because it's like, because you were the one that said we should be able to just have stories about Mexico.
Yeah.
But I do agree with what you're saying, because it's like, it is very nuanced, because I do think that we want that, but to have that be the only variable that changes of now you just have a brown person in the role, it does feel disingenuous.
Sure.
And it doesn't sit right. I forgot there was somebody in the Discord that mentioned a video on YouTube that was like a reflection on the show Scrubs, and a section of that is dedicated to Carla, because she was kind of in a lot of ways like the best portrayal of a Latina.
I remember seeing that comment.
Yeah, on a show, right? Because she was able to be complex. She was flawed. She had agency. She wasn't a stereotype, but she also, did speak Spanish. She also did portray like being Latina. What's up?
I just wanted to add to that. There's also, because it's a thing I've talked about before, where like when there's one Latino character, the most you hear about them is they'll speak Spanish once in a while, and then there'll be a whole episode where they're having issues with their family.
Right.
She had a consistent, like, not story arc, but a consistent aspect to her being, which is that sometimes that would be called into question, or she'd have to deal with that. And instead of it being all shoved into one episode over the course of 8 years, it was dropped in as part of that. That's like part of her life is being Latina.
Yeah.
So that would come up, like when they had the baby, when she found out her brother spoke Spanish, when her mom died, when she started dreaming in English. It was a consistent concept in the show.
Yeah, exactly. And it wasn't like fucking Brooklyn Nine-Nine. That was the show that I thought of when you were talking about the first wave. It was like the show was a big deal because you had two characters that were Latina, where they were like, oh well, we're not going to get it. Stephanie Beatriz, and I forgot the other woman, Amy Contreras or something like that.
Yeah, what it usually feels like is more like how. Do you remember that scene where Elliot's like talking about her farmer who became like the head of Abbott Apples? Or the head of what's the major
The Orchard?
Yeah, she had she's like, I had a dude, Hector, hated applesauce because he thought it defeated the integrity of La Manzana. And then it's like, I completely made him up. But like, that's what representation usually feels like. It's like a completely outrageous stereotype written by a white person.
Yeah, it was like Brooklyn Nine-Nine. There was 2 episodes, like Stephanie Beatriz gets an episode, and then I forgot the actor. I forget her name, but the one that plays Amy, they each have an episode where their family's introduced, and then it's like that's the most Latina you see them in the entire series, and it was like a 9 season series. So yeah, it is a fine line, and I want to be supportive of this movie. I think it's a good I hope this is just a first step for a lot of people, for Eva Longoria. Hopefully she does more stuff like this. I know she's already been like sticking her foot in that area of just like helping mentor people and help creating opportunities and help and wanting to tell Latino stories. I think, I forget the kid's name, but you know, it's a good opportunity for him to start acting. Hopefully, like this is the beginning of like
Bryce
Yeah.
Gonzalez. Amy Santiago's name is Melissa Fumero.
Yeah.
And the comment about Scrubs came from John God.
Right.
So thanks, John God, for your comments.
Thank you, John God.
Also, the YouTube channel that he's talking about is the video is called Scrubs, My Retrospective, from a channel
Right.
called Jose.
Cool.
Oh, right. Yeah. So if you look at my retrospective, there's a whole section. We should do a whole episode on Carla, to be honest.
We should.
I think so.
That'd
Yeah.
be a good idea.
I mean,
Yeah.
I love Scrubs.
I've never seen
Yeah.
it like enough to be like, I know everything about that show.
Do you have Hulu? It's on Hulu.
There's a lot of.
We'll
there's a lot of
figure this out
seasons.
later. You know what? We're going to wrap it up.
Yeah.
Any final thoughts? And then we can go binge Scrubs.
Yeah, I think.
This episode's been flaming hot.
Okay, you're fired. What are you going to say, Ricky?
I think.
Fired? Hot enough for... Anyway,
Dangerously cheesy.
I quit.
I just think there's a lot of conflicting feelings and thoughts we've had, and I think that's good. I think part of the reason there's a lot of pressure for a movie like this to not be condescending and cheesy is because there's not a lot of authentic representation yet. But I think there's space for all of it eventually.
I hope that I can watch this and get something positive out of it. And I do hope that, like I said, this is a first step for a lot of people, or a big step for a lot of people to continue to succeed in the industry. And I hope this is successful enough that it does help create opportunities for other people that want to do the same. Because it is a story that is worth telling at the end of it all. I still believe in the importance of this story, of like Richard Montanez's story. All the speculation about whether or not being true is like, we'll fucking never know. We'll never know. You can say that you know just based off of the articles and about like this guy's story, but we just won't ever 100% be sure.
Corporations are poisoning your mind and your body. This movie is a commercial for a tool of destruction for our people.
I feel like you're just jealous because you're more of a Dr. Pepper guy.
I love Dr. Pepper.
All right.
But I did want to say my final thought, addressing the people that are when we bring up like why certain things could be better or aren't better representation, and then there's people that'll be like, well, this is a start, or well, this is something like. It always is. It always is the bare minimum. And even if the definition of the minimum changes, it's still the minimum that they're doing because we're allowing them to get away with it.
And the last thing that I want to say about that, just to jump on that real quick, is that in the 90s, like before the mid to late 90s, like modern filmmaking, in the 80s and the early 90s, there was a lot more diversity. Like Latino movies were getting made.
Yeah.
Oh God, this is gonna lead
like all
into
of
another
that
topic. Yeah.
All of that to say, like, we don't have to settle for the minimum. We can ask for more.
Yeah.
Anyway.
And from us, we're going to do a part 2 at some point about this. So please ask questions that we can discuss in the next episode. That'll probably be the next Patreon episode because apparently we have a lot more to say about this.
It's like when you think you ate the last Cheeto and then there's like a little burnt one under it, just more and more pieces. Never ends.
You and your fucking metaphors, dog.
I'm autistic.
All right. Were you gonna say something?
The movie will be out on June 9th, and we could watch it and then do the part 2.
Oh yeah.
Probably.
That'll work.
Yeah. And from us, wait, do we have to do something?
From all of us at Un Poquito, go outside. Save your money. Don't spend it.
Steal some chips.
Steal everything.
Steal from corporations.
And if you're going to fly, don't. You should still do it. Don't fly. No, from all of us.
From all of us
Motherfucker.
at this place in time, the studio Un Poquito. Don't.
It's like you're intentionally adding details to everything. Don't. From all of us at Un Poquito, put your finger. Don't fly.